Welcome to the Double Dribble Podcast with Dubin and Dakhil. That's Jared Dubin, author of the newsletter Last Night in Basketball. Make sure you're a subscriber. Get all the good stuff that he's going to drop in your inbox. You're not going to want to miss it. I highly recommend that. And I'm not saying that because he's my podcast partner and I talk to him almost daily at this point. Just saying it because it's really damn good. I'm Mo Dakhil, former video coordinator for the Clippers Spurs Team Australia. I do videos for Offside. I'm a contributor on NBA TV. Make sure you're checking out all that good stuff. I'm on various podcasts. We're on the RealGM network. So make sure you guys are liking, reviewing, subscribing, telling them how much you love that the Double Dribble Podcast is on the RealGM network. Let them know. Let the people hear you. And make sure you're giving us 5-star reviews. Jared, my man, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm mad at the Spurs right now, though, because we were about to get this podcast started like a half hour ago, but we had to push it back because they were in the process of blowing their 28-point lead.
It was, we sat down with it at 15, and then it dwindled to 9, and then I just said, like, yo, we got to watch the rest of this. And you know, now and I'm glad we did, because we did get some fun goodness stuff. Let's just start there, because Portland, the game is not official, but Portland is going to be eliminated tonight. 5-game series. The Spurs do a phenomenal job. And then when it became close, it was De'Aaron Fox who closed the door, who just completely shut the door. I really think since game 2, and like everybody was like, what happened to Fox down the stretch of that game and things like that. I think he heard everybody, and he has responded appropriately because he's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Game 3 wasn't his best either. That was the one that they were missing. Wemby and Harper and Castle went off. But game 4, he totally took over in the fourth quarter. Game 5, he totally took over in the fourth quarter once the lead got cut to 9.
And just to kind of talk about it, like the Spurs built up this crazy lead. They come out of the gates red hot. It was 12-2 to start the game. Champagny was literally just man on fire meme. Like it was, when he started the game, it was pretty impressive, and not even like an absolutely crazy Wemby game, right? As of now, just 17 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks, which is pretty impressive. But so only 7 shots. That's
not even a crazy game. 17, 14, and 6 blocks.
No, we want more from him, right? Like how rude is that of us? But it wasn't like only 7.
They built that big lead in the first half, despite the fact that he only played like 13 minutes in the first half.
Yeah, they did a pretty solid job. Portland was taking him away, but just everybody else started bombing away, and it became just a massive problem. Just another night for the Blazers. Look, they're going to finish with 45 three-point attempts, maybe more. Only made 11 at this point, so it's 24% from 3, 36% from the field. Like, that's the number that really does you in.
Yeah, it was basically, in the first half at least, it was only Denny Avdia and Robert Williams that really showed up. Everybody else shot like 20-something% from the field. And that's basically the way it went for the game. Avdia and Williams were 12 of 25. And, they shot 36% as a team. So the rest of the team was 21 of 67. So that's, south of 33% from the field.
That'll do it for you. Like, that'll crush you. Robert Williams only getting 17 minutes is kind of a head scratcher for me.
Although Klingon did start hitting a couple threes in the fourth quarter, so that probably played a bit of a role in it.
But those were his only threes.
Oh, were they?
He was 2 for 7 of the night. So, along those lines, you kind of struggled. Rough night from Drew Holiday, 3 of 14. Really, after game 3, it's been a bad run for Scoot.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really kind of lived up to that sort of hype or anything like that.
Or wasn't game 2 the Scoot game? Or was it game 3?
It was game 2 and 3. 3, he started going and then was chirping at Dylan Harper And then he got kind of it ended the moment he talked trash to Dylan Harper. The flame went out. If this was NBA Jam,
Game 2 was the one where he really went off though when they won and he had like 30 whatever on like 60 something percent shooting.
And he was on pace, not maybe that type of number, but he was having that type of game in Game 3, and then kind of lost his composure to a degree. I think is really the thing that's kind of most sort of like, all right, this is the deal. Before we go and talk about like the Spurs and the greatness of the Spurs, let's kind of put the Blazers season to bed here. Pretty impressive season, regardless. Like going 4-1 in the playoffs, like we kind of had them pegged as a potential play-in team. Maybe they just miss it. Maybe they just make it. They make it and win the first play-in game and become the 7th seed. Pretty impressive performance, I think. When you look back at everything that happened for them at the start of the season, I mean, their head coach gets arrested by the FBI for a gambling ring 1 game into the season.
It's so crazy that happened.
It's again the strangest NBA season ever, and I loved every bit of it. And then you have, so Thiago Splitter takes over, massive amounts of injuries. Scoot doesn't play most of the season for the most part. You have guys in and out of the lineups. You're never really healthy till towards down the stretch. And you really sort of find your way through everything. I just kind of looking at them, what do you see? Sort of like, how do you look at their future? And we do have to wonder if Tom Dundon, the new owner, is going to make them all take a bus home because they lost instead of a plane to cut costs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of two different minds about the future because they have, I think, a defensive identity to build around, but a lot of it is tied up in like having Drew Holiday around and playing at a really high level, and I'm not sure how much longer that can continue. And then also if they're bringing Dame back next year, that sort of compromises the defensive identity a little bit. But they found a foundational defensive piece in Donovan Clingan. They have a good defensive backup center in Robert Williams. Like if you have those two guys patrolling the middle, you're at least going to be a pretty good defensive team over the next few years. And they need to find the foundational offensive players beyond Denny Avdia, because I think we saw in this series that Denny attacks the rim being your only offense is not a sustainable strategy for being a playoff level offense. They need something else outside of that, whether it's Scoot taking another step forward or Dame coming back next year, or do they have their draft picks this year?
I think they don't. I think they have. I think it's going to. I want to say it's going to Chicago.
It is going to Chicago.
Is that like the Robert Covington trade from like a million years ago, or am I just misremembering?
I don't remember what trade it's from, but I'm like 90% sure it's going to Chicago.
You continue on. I'll look it up. You continue on. I don't know what trade, but I'll just make sure it's going to Chicago. It is going to Chicago.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Shaedon Sharp, by the way, only 6 minutes in this game. Kind of disappearing from the rotation. Not great.
It is from the Markkanen Nance Jones trade.
Oh, the Larry Nance trade.
Yeah, so that's nope. Once again, I don't know what it is. I can't read. I'm tired. This ain't helping me. We're not getting anything. I'm on Tankathon and I can't read it properly. And I'm just very confused. Oh no, it is that trade. It was protected 1 through 14. Unless I'm reading this wrong and it says incoming.
This is really good podcasting, just so people know.
Yeah, this is like really high level preparation. I apologize, folks. Forget about it. Who cares where it came from? Let's go. It's going to Chicago.
It's a trade from 5 years ago. That's what we know. It's a 2021 trade.
So the thing is, like, going forward, they do have some things to figure out. Obviously, the first thing that needs to be kind of completely locked in is Thiago Splitter going to be your coach? Are you going to pay him more than a bag of peanuts?
And let's be clear, he should be the coach. He did a great job this year.
If he's not if they're not going to bring him back as the head coach, some of these other teams need to be interviewing him. And I'm talking about like Chicago should be all over him right now.
New Orleans.
Although I feel like they're going to zero in real quickly on one of their guys that they've already kind of started interviewing. It's going to be pretty interesting, but he should be considered a prospect for every coaching job and whichever ones that come available during the course of the playoffs. Pretty impressive. If he's not the head coach, it's because of money at the end of the day. And not because he's greedy, but because the owner is cheap. Because that's the report, and we've talked about it. We don't need to go back into it. That's kind of like their biggest thing. And then it's like you said, it's building forward. Okay, we have Dame coming back. What are we doing with Drew Holiday? What's our plan with Drew? How are, like you said, Shaedon Sharpe only playing 6 minutes. Is he something for us in the future? Or is he something we use in the trade market to try to get something? Is there avenue to build using him as a piece? And I think it's important to kind of for them to figure out where they're going, and it's going to be an interesting one because you don't want to lose the momentum of this season.
No, I mean, you got to be able to, that was the interesting thing about the Drew trade too, was it was a win now trade and it worked, obviously, but it also kept things it made things for the future, I think, a little bit more cloudy, because if he's such an important part of your guard rotation and you have Dame coming back, then where do both Scoot and Sharpe fit into the mix? And Sharpe is a free agent this offseason. He's a restricted free agent. So that's obviously something that's got to be worked out too.
Yeah, you got to start figuring out what you're going to do. And
Robert Williams is not under contract for next year. I forgot about that.
So it'll be interesting. You have the building blocks. I think obviously starting with Denny and Scoot. I think Scoot's kind of proved that it wasn't just the playoffs. He shot it really well down the stretch. I feel like it's real.
I still think, though, we've only seen the good version of Scoot for 45 games in 3 years. Mm-hmm. I believe in what's there when it's there, but we haven't seen it often enough to really be able to count on it. I can't see extending him this summer.
I wouldn't extend him if I were them. I would, unless it's a term that's favorable for the team. I wouldn't extend them. I just think you got to, you just got to be like, hey man, you were great. Need to see you do that next year, and need to see you do it for 60+ games. I think that's just the real output of it. They know they have a guy in Denny. I think they like their big situation. We never got any Han-Son Young.
No, and let's be honest too. When he played, it was not pretty.
It was ugly, and for all the excitedness we got in the summertime, it was really nothing. This season, we'll see how that kind of develops, and the reason why that's a big pick they made. That was it was the 13th pick, right?
13, 16, somewhere around there.
He was 16th pick. But it's a high draft pick that they made, so I think it's kind of like you need these guys to succeed. You can't be wasting picks like that, especially when you don't have your first round pick this year. So I think that's going to be interesting. I'm still pretty much in on them for next year. I still think they bring, if everybody comes back for the most part, I could see them kind of being another play-in year, only because the West is stacked, and I don't know. We'll have to see how the whole season plays. But they're on the upward trajectory right now, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think it's hard to see how they break to the next level, though.
It's just hard. It's a tough conference. In the East, I'd feel very different if they were an Eastern Conference team, but that's just not where they are. It's the exact opposite. They're the furthest away, I believe, you can be from the Eastern Conference. All right, let's talk about the Spurs. Big win for them, learning how to close out a team's big, despite yet again nearly blowing a lead, a 28-point lead. That's a learning lesson for them. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's funny because we don't know what they're going to get next round, right? A beat-up Minnesota team, which then we would all kind of pick them to win the series pretty handily, even if Ant comes back at some point during the series. or a Denver team that looks very unathletic, very slow when they've lost, and they're beating up on a beat up Minnesota team, like, and that's going to be a 7-game series if Denver wins. Like, it's going to be kind of an interesting situation. Is it lined up perfectly for the Spurs that they should be in the conference finals?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I have much more to say than that. Like, it's definitely lined up perfectly for them. Like you said, they either get a Minnesota team without its starting backcourt, and who knows if Anthony Edwards will be able to get back at all in the series, depending on how long it goes. And obviously, they're not going to have Dante DiVincenzo. You know, you get Ayo Dosunmu in there, who can help replicate, obviously, some of what Dante brings. Not quite the same shooter, not quite the same gravity that Dante has, especially from on like really deep threes, which Dante can hit from like 30 feet on a really quick trigger. That's not necessarily what you're going to get from Ayo. A little bit more off the bounce verve though. But you know, you're talking about playing Conley more, and that does some things to your defense, especially against the bigger guards that the Spurs have. You know, you got Randall going through the thicket of limbs that you have with the Spurs. I don't know how much I trust that, especially if Ant's not out there. Like, it would be really difficult for them to score, I think, against the San Antonio defense. And then Denver just hasn't looked like the team that we thought that team was going to look like, and might not have Aaron Gordon.
Yeah. So, and still don't have Peyton Watson.
Yeah.
Like, there's a level of like, okay, they're missing a lot of pieces. This is a bit of a problem with where they're situated and where they're standing. So, I mean, I guess, yeah, it kind of has to be they can't fumble this. I know they're young. I know this is a new experience for them. I know all of this stuff, you know, but the only guy with playoff, no, that's not the only guy. A couple of guys with playoff experience on that roster. But the guy who plays the most minutes with playoff experience is Drew Holiday and Luke Cornett. And Cornett was kind of more of a role player on the run that he had. You know,
Harrison
being sort
Barnes,
of...
not Drew Holiday.
Damn it, I meant De'Aaron Fox. I'm tired, folks. And
Well,
I'm not
Harrison
even
Barnes
doing
has the most experience, obviously.
Yeah, but he doesn't play that much in terms of playing in the heavy rotation.
Yeah, and
What
Fox
I really...
only played one playoff series before this.
Yeah, my point is like Harrison Barnes doesn't get as many minutes for the Spurs as Fox does.
Sure.
That's kind of the stuff. But don't blow it. Opportunity to get to the conference finals, man. Like
It doesn't come around every day. Ask the Blazers, who got there one time and then never got back. Ask the Hawks, who got there one time and never got back. Ask so many different teams.
So this is going to be a fun one there. But I'm with you. I think they should be expected to get to the conference finals. Just because even Denver has to go through a 7-game series if they win this series. And even though they played a really close game towards the end of the season that Denver won in OT, this doesn't feel like the same Denver team from 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks, however long ago that was, a month ago. Like, it just doesn't feel the same. So I don't know if we're at that point yet. Let's go to the other games. And let's go to a team that was supposed to close their series out tonight, Jared. Okay? And I'm a bit mad at them. The Boston Celtics, up 3-1, go home, and lose to the Philadelphia 76ers. And it goes back to what you said. They didn't hit their 3-point percentage mark.
Yep.
So they lose. And the thing that frustrated me most about it was, yet again, it's not the number of threes they take. It's how they get to their threes. And this was another one of those games where they just decided, hey, we're just going to shoot threes.
A lot of ISO step back stuff. And I'll say this stat again. They're 37-1 when they shoot 38% from three or better. And they're like around 500 when they don't. But let me ask you this, though. Because I am notoriously very, very bad at watching multiple games at once. And because this was a 3-1 series and Knicks-Hawks was a 2-2 series, I was paying much closer attention to Knicks-Hawks than I was to the second half of Celtics-Sixers. What exactly happened in the second half? Because at the end of the first half, the Celtics went on a little run to take I think a 7-point lead into halftime. They went on like a 9-2 run to end the half or something along those lines. And What happened in the fourth quarter, especially?
Well, I got 2 words for you. Joel Embiid.
Really? Because he started off the game looking not great, folks.
He did not look good. Okay? Just his third quarter. 4 or 6 from the field, 10 points. Fourth quarter. 3 or 4, 8 points. 18 points in the second half. Just completely held it down. They played a little bit slower, more deliberate. It was him in the post. He was giving it to Keita. He was giving it to everybody. Like, really, across the board for the Celtics. And when you're looking at it from Boston's side of it, it was just like, this was my biggest fear with them, and this is going into the series. I said if Embiid was healthy, I would feel a little bit more confident in Philly in the sense of, hey, they're going to be, he can hurt you size-wise and things like that. And he looked terrible in Game 4. And they went at him a bunch in Game 4. They put him in every action at Game 4. They didn't do that tonight. And it went back to what we were talking about.
A little bit of it early in the game.
But they went to everything was sidestep 3. Everything was ISO. It wasn't attack him, get downhill, attack, and then find kickouts and things like that. They just simply didn't attack him enough. And then he found his rhythm and his flow. And at the end of the day, when Embiid looks like that, that's too much for Keita. That's going to be too much for Vooch. That's going to be too much for Garza and all those guys. Like, they're not going to be able to hang with that. And you can't go small when Embiid's rolling like that.
Did it make you feel any differently about a potential Game 6?
No. The problem is, this is the type of shit that Boston does. Right? Like, this is the stuff I'm so used to with the Celtics that it's just like, they can be assholes sometimes.
They did it in Game 2.
It's exactly the same as Game 2. They thought, hey, Philly's going to roll over. We're just going to beat the crap out of them. It's not going to be that hard. I want to credit other guys in Embiid, though, because Edgecombe had a lot of juice tonight. Not like numbers weren't great or anything like that. Maxey was phenomenal. Again, kind of like in Game 2, though, they made a point to get Paul George going early.
Mm.
And I felt like that sort of got everybody else in rhythm and things like that. I thought it was another strong PG game. It's when they get him those just touches early and feed him kind of early, he kind of stays into the flow of games and gets, his rhythm and flow. It gets everybody else going. It was pretty impressive kind of watching them. Listen, man, I did not have this Philly team taking 2 wins from Boston.
I picked Boston in 4.
So did I. And this was, give them a ton of credit, man. Like, tough team. I was reading stuff. Nick Nurse might be on the hot seat. Nah, that seat's cooling down. You do this. Like, this is pretty impressive. Do you feel like they can force this to 7?
I didn't think they could force it to 5 or 6, and they already did. So, yeah, I would still take Boston in Game 6. If they hit their shots, they're going to win. That's just the way it is, and they need to get the shots the right way, which is when they hit them. It's when they're not getting them the right way that is when they miss them. Can they make those ISO sidestep threes? Yeah. Are they going to do it consistently? Probably not. And when they get their drive and kick downhill stuff going is when you really can't stop them.
Yeah, it's really kind of frustrating. I got to imagine if you're Mazzulla, you're just pissed. Like, the way he's got going into the locker room.
When is he not, though? When
That's true, not? Actually. I said that and also kind of thought that at the same time. Like, he's always pissed, Mo. Like, that's not really a great way to look at it. But I think there's just an element of just, again, it's when Boston gets away from themselves, it's they lose themselves a couple times a series. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's like, that's what comes back to bite you in the ass come playoff time. Next round, you can't do that too many times against this Knicks team if they're going to play the way they're playing now, which we're going to get to in just a second. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty frustrating to watch. And, on a night, Tatum plays 40 minutes. Jaylen Brown plays 40 minutes. You want easy first rounds. And you're stressing the hell out of your guys in this, in what should have been an easy first round. They're not doing their part. Again, it's crazy when you look at like the shot distribution, right? Brown with 23, Tatum with 19, Pritchard with 10 off the bench. Derek White, who, by the way, just they're not guarding anymore.
Can't make
0
a
for
shot.
4.
Why would you guard him?
Yeah, exactly. 0 for 4 from 3. That's going to be a bigger problem as they keep going through the course of the playoffs. Like, they got to make sure they either figure out how they're going to handle, hey, teams aren't going to guard him, what are we going to do? Or he needs to start making shots because they're in a whole world of hurt right now with that. And I think that's going to be interesting. I still think Boston wins in 6. I expect them to. But, like, expected them to sweep. They didn't. Expected them to close out today. They didn't. I'm pretty surprised when they won 2 games in Philly for them to crap the bed at home again. So now they're 1-2 in the playoffs at home, which is weird.
Yeah. And White shot 29% from 3 in March. He did heat up a little bit in the 6 April games they played, shot 42%. But, I mean, for the season, 33% from 3. After, for his first couple of years as a Celtic, he shoots 38% in 2023, 39% in 2024, 38% in 2025, and just craters this year to shoot much more like he did through his first couple of years in San Antonio. And obviously now in the playoffs, it's been horrendous.
All right, we're going to talk Knicks-Hawks right after this break. And we're back, folks. Listen, 3 games in one night. It's always tough. This is why I also want some of these teams to get knocked out so that we can start getting to just 2 games a night in the flow of things. We're slowly getting there. Thank you, San Antonio. Screw you, Boston, for not doing your job. But we had a Knicks-Hawks run. Big game, 2-2 series, game 5 at the Garden. You said it more than anything else. You were more focused on this game than anything else. What did you see?
Early on, a lot of Karl-Anthony Towns again, a lot of running the offense through him at the elbows. The Knicks were getting much more side-to-side movement in their offense like they were in Game 4. That worked very well. And then in the second half, it was a whole lot of Jalen Brunson just going off. He goes off for 39 points. I think he had 22 of them in the second half, if I'm remembering correctly. 8 assists, only 1 turnover in this game. He dealt with the pressure from the Hawks defense a lot better than he did in the previous games where he was, just not great. But he goes 15 for 23 in this game when he had been shooting I think around 40% through the first few games of the series and just not playing particularly well, having a little bit of trouble with the pressure that the Hawks were putting on him. In the second half in particular, he did a fabulous job of dealing with that. And the biggest thing is just the Knicks defense, again, they held the Hawks to 26 points or less in all 4 quarters, 97 total points, under 100 for the second game in a row. It was a 103 offensive rating for the Hawks because it was a slower paced game. The Hawks have had their transition water totally shut off. 4 fast break points in this game. I believe they had 2 fast break points in the last game, if I'm remembering correctly. I can pull it up after you start talking for your points on this game. But, I mean, between Towns early, Brunson late, the defense the entire game, OG Anunoby was absolutely flying around everywhere. He had, I believe, 7 rebounds in the first quarter, only a few the rest of the game, but he was phenomenal. Josh Hart, really good job on Jalen Johnson when he was on him again. Really good job on C.J. McCollum, changing the matchup so that Brunson was not on C.J. McCollum anymore has been really beneficial. OG and Hart have just been fantastic defensively throughout the entire series. Towns has been fantastic defensively for the significant portion of the series, and he was very good defensively again tonight.
Yeah, I think to your point with fast break points is, the Knicks shot 57% from the field. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's hard to get fast breaks when you're taking the ball out over and over again. It can happen. You can get those transitions, but it's hard to get that consistently. And I think that's a big thing in this game was their offense was humming. I'm not taking anything away from their defense because their defense has been really stout through the whole thing. Again, if apart from 2 or 3 stupid decisions in game 2.
It's been basically 3 quarters of really bad defense is the difference between this series being over and it being 3-2.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the the frustration if you're a Knicks fan going like, man, we should be done already. But I think it's also interesting in that like game 1 was Brunson in the first half, Cat in the second half, and then this one kind of flips the script a little bit. I just love like Cat operating at the elbow. I know they ran it in the regular season, but it almost feels like now they've either rediscovered it or they realize now how fruitful it is for them. And I love that because now you have a second offense you can go to, right? Cool. Jalen's having a tough night. They're all over him. Boom. Get it to Towns Towns. I said it with a weird accent. Get it to Towns on the elbow and let him operate. He's going to find OG on back cuts. He's going to put us, it's going to put them in good positions offensively. Like I like having almost a different style of offense that we can run now and put and make teams have to defend that. I think it's really interesting for the Knicks with where they're at. How much do you count on like, all right, this should be over in 6. This should be done on Thursday? Or how much are you like, man, I don't trust this Knicks team enough yet?
It's somewhere in the middle of those two. Like I picked Knicks in 6 before the series, so I would expect them to win game 6. And they haven't dominated the series, but they've been the significantly better team in the series, with the exception of the fourth quarter of game 2 and the first 3 quarters of game 3. Like,
yeah.
There have been 5 games in the series, and basically for 16 of the 20 quarters, they've been much better than the Hawks, and they just blew a lead in game 2. But that's also, like we've talked about it all year, this team can just do that sometimes and just like fart away games. So are they fully capable of doing that again in game 6? Yeah. But, I mean, they've just outplayed the Hawks throughout the series. They have advantages that I don't think the Hawks are equipped to deal with. Like, Towns is an advantage that the Hawks are not equipped to deal with. We talked about it before the series. We've talked about it in basically every game of the series, whether he's on the low block, whether he's getting some of the centers on the perimeter, or whether it's against Dyson Daniels, who they've been guarding him with more often the last couple games. He's got different advantages over all of those guys. And when they're getting him the ball in the high post, it's activating more of the other guys in the offense other than just him and Brunson. Like the Hawks guarded that cross screen play for whether it was Brunson or Bridges or McBride setting the screen for OG in the corner. They guarded that much more successfully tonight, but the Knicks were able to flow into more stuff directly out of that because of how often Towns had the ball at the top of the floor or on the elbow and just activating everybody else within the flow of the offense.
Yeah, I think just the more this series has gone on, the more the Knicks have figured out the Hawks and how to attack the Hawks. Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating that it's, kind of taken them, till game 4 where they really said, like, all right, we need to turn this over to Cat and go from there.
It reminds me of? It's the inverse of the series that the Knicks and Hawks played a few years ago, the year that the Hawks went to the conference finals, when in the last game of the regular season that the Hawks and Knicks played that year, Trae Young had 14 assists in the middle of the third quarter and then got hurt, and the Knicks came back to win that game, so they won the season series 3-0. But by that point, Trae Young had basically cracked their defense. Right. And the Hawks take that series in, I think, 5 games because Trae just figured out what to do against the Knicks defense. It feels like the Knicks have figured out what to do against the Hawks defense here.
Yeah, and they've given Hawks more questions that they need to figure out how to answer. And sometimes the answer is you just don't have the guys. Jonathan Kuminga kind of coming back to earth a little bit. CJ McCollum struggling now, with against the Knicks defenders. It's more challenging. Jalen Johnson had, okay numbers and things like that, but really not the impact that we had from him in the regular season. Mm-hmm. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's been fine, but nothing.
No, Nickeil has really struggled for most of the series. Like, he hit his threes tonight, but other than that, like, throughout the series, it's been a struggle for him.
Yeah, so I just think for really the biggest problem for the Hawks is just a talent thing. And that's fine. This was, again, if they get knocked out on Thursday, it's a good season for them. They picked a path. It's been a crazy one for them with trading Young and everything. But, like, it's been a successful season, and they kind of have an understanding where they're going. And then they're going to have New Orleans pick wherever that falls in the lottery. You know, who knows? New Orleans or Milwaukee's.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on with this game?
Mikal Bridges did make a three toward the end of the game, which feels like it could sort of spur him on. He had a jumper early in the game, too. Again, he plays 27 minutes in this game, so less than his usual allotment, but more than he did the last couple of games. I thought defensively he was pretty good again, but the degree to which he's just uninvolved in the offense, except for the random jumper here or there, would be funny if it wasn't kind of sad.
No, it's depressing, in all honesty. And, again, it's depressing also when you realize how much, and everybody talks about it, you know, the Knicks gave up to get him and everything that goes with it. I think you're in a challenging I think you need him. Honestly, like, you're going to need him. You're need to figure this out.
Like,
and the thing that's frustrating is it's like took you this long to realize you're going to need him, but you never really put in a package for him or figured out how to use him. And this is the second coach 2 years in a row that has kind of done that. That's frustrating, at least for me. You know, I can't imagine what it's like for him, but that's a little bit frustration in sort of like, why can't we figure out how to get him more involved, you know? And I think when they were rolling last year, it wasn't just Cat and Brunson. It was OG, Hart, and Bridges all having moments in big games and things like that. You need him. And so it's going to be really important for them, you know, win the series and start figuring out how to get him going next series, because they're not going. You're not going as far as you think if you don't.
I will say he has been, during his Knicks tenure, significantly more effective against teams that play drop than against teams that don't. And obviously we've seen Boston playing that drop with Keita and with Vucevic and with Garza. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes to fruition.
All right, I'm going to give you dealer's choice here. We can talk Minnesota-Denver or Detroit-Orlando.
Let's go with Minnesota-Denver.
You don't want to talk about one of the worst basketball games played ever?
Yeah. No.
So Denver does what they're supposed to do. They beat the Wolves. It got a little tight at the end. And I was kind of like, I was a little bit like, wow, are we really, like, you guys got too excited too early? Like, it's, you know, it's this is the thing that bothers me here. And this is,
I don't think it ever got into single digits though, did it?
I don't think so, no. But it got to 12. They were killing them the whole game, and I think it got to 12 or 13, and everybody was like, oh, and then Denver went on a little run here. Cam Johnson had a great game. Like, he was really awesome. Jokic sort of solved Gobert for this game.
Yes.
And I think the thing is, if you're Finch, and this part's important, is whenever Jokic is on the floor, Gobert has to be on the floor. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see Naz Reid or Randall or whoever have to guard Jokic with Rudy on the bench. Like that, you just match the minutes. That's it. You can't really kind of play around with this. Jokic plays 38 minutes, Rudy plays 29. Nah. Jokic plays 38, Rudy plays 38. I think there's no reason to not do that.
No, I'm 100% with you. And I think that was part of Denver's offense getting off. I mean, that was the big difference in this game. Like, obviously the defense was better. Some of that is obviously because of no Edwards and no Dante. But the biggest difference in the game was the Nuggets had a 122.5 offensive rating in non-garbage time when you go to cleaning the glass. In the first 4 games of the series, they were at 105.6, the second worst of the playoffs. Like, that is the biggest difference from games 1 through 4 to game 5.
And the other thing, and this is for Minnesota, you're not going to win a game if you have 25 turnovers. You're not going to win a regular season game with 25 turnovers. That's just the backbreaker right there that sort of kills you. You know, and eats you up here quite a bit. So, you know, it's tough for me. Like when I watch, I just feel bad too. Part of it is like Denver should win this series. This should go 7 games. Denver should knock them out in 7 games with the current situation. And it's, DeSumo comes back to earth a little bit. You're not going to get, you need a crazy night of unbelievable hot shooting from everybody if you're Minnesota. And I don't know if they're going to get that, man.
Yeah, I mean, Denver's defense springs enough leaks often enough that it's possible. We'll see if Aaron Gordon comes back and is able to help plug some of those leaks, or if Peyton Watson comes back and is able to help plug some of those leaks. So it's possible that you could get off one of those hot shooting nights, but I think you're right that they are going to need that in order to win one of these games, because I'm not sure, can you still hold down the Denver offense in the same way that you did in games 1-4, or is what we saw from Jokic and from Cam Johnson and from Spencer Jones, and is that much more of what we're going to see throughout the rest of the series?
Yeah, and just Jokic 27, 12, and 16. That, just that type of night for him. 9 of 15 from the field, really 1 for 4 from 3. 3-point shot's still not back. Murray didn't shoot it that well. Had finished with 24 points, but he kind of struggled a little bit with his shot. It's more just like the Nuggets better come into Game 6 with the appropriate attitude to really kind of win this one. All right. Do you have anything left on this one? Any final notes?
Nope.
All right. Well, I appreciate that one there. We're going to take a break. We're going to talk about Orlando, Detroit, one of the worst played basketball games since Toronto-Cleveland Game 4. And then we're going to talk OKC Phoenix. We'll be right back. And we're back. Jared, can I interest you in a game that had, and I'm doing math in my head, so that's always interesting, both teams combine for 15 of 65 from 3?
You cannot interest me in that game. I watched it, and you cannot interest me in it.
Can I interest you in a game where one team went 30 of 92 from the field and the other one 32 of 18?
32 of 18 would be very impressive.
I'm sorry. That would be really amazing. Folks, I'm getting tired. You can tell now this is where we're going. 31 and 82.
You cannot interest me in that. It was one of the most disgusting basketball games I've ever seen.
It was comically bad. It was comically bad.
But even beyond the shooting, the turnovers from the Pistons, 8 turnovers for Cade, it was not great. Some of it is I think what we're seeing from Detroit is what we expected to see from Detroit, but just later in the playoffs. We didn't think that the Pistons would really be challenged in the first round because we didn't think anybody in the bottom half of the Eastern Conference bracket was any good. And we thought that the Pistons would get out of this round, and then if they faced, the Knicks or the Celtics or the Cavs, then they would have trouble offensively because they don't have any creators specifically off the dribble other than Cade. And we're just seeing that happen much earlier in the playoffs than we expected. It's putting so much pressure on Cade. He's turning the ball over because they're just loading up on him. He's not shooting well. They're letting him shoot from the outside. He's not connecting on those. Jalen Duren, again, still is getting his lunch eaten by Wendell Carter Jr. He got absolutely sent into the shadow realm by Jamal Cain. I know he had a sick block. I know he had a sick putback dunk. But, he got his life ended by Jamal Cain in this game. So
it was one of the most fantastical dunks I've seen in a long time.
Would you say it was magical?
That's what I should have done. I should have done that instead of fantastical. Yes, it was truly a magical dunk. It was pretty impressive. Also, I just want to say, Cade completely screwed Duren by just letting Cain drive right by him.
Right.
This has also been my problem with the Pistons all playoffs long. Duren's been bad. He's been getting his ass kicked by Wendell Carter Jr. on both sides of the court. Not excusing any of that. Their perimeter defense has given up so much in terms of drives, straight line drives, and forcing help. And nobody on the weak side rotates to help the helper. We talked about this last time. It's really embarrassing. When you're I went through it again today, and I was just like, I went through Game 3 clips today because I couldn't bear myself to watch Game 4 clips. And it was just so bad when you watch how poorly their defense has handled that. And then when you go to Cade, it was I apologize. Somebody tweeted this out. Cade has 24 turnovers in 3 games. It's the last mark. The last time somebody had that type of stretch was like James Harden, and he had 22. So it's like it's pretty rough watching this stuff from Cade because these are bad. He had one where it's on a fast break, and Duran's thinking he's going to throw the lob. He throws a chest pass, threw the pass right to Duran's chest, and not like at the rim. He had the one where he honestly it looked like he was trying to trip up Javonte Green more than give him a fast break layup, and Green ends up tripping and sliding on the ground. It's pretty like frustrating. Jenkins has given them nothing. Tobias Harris is absolutely nowhere to be found, doing his normal disappearing trick in the playoffs. Like, I don't know really how else to kind of view it than like they're just getting punked at every step of the way. And this was the team we did not expect of all teams to get punked like this.
No, like we said it in Game 1, the Magic are doing Pistons things better than the Pistons are, is kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it's pretty disheartening if you're a Pistons fan. Like, I can't imagine the thought. Well, actually, I know it. I was a 1 seed I was part of a 1 seed that got upset by an 8 seed when I was in San Antonio. Sucks.
Is it the San Antonio Memphis series?
Yes, it's brutal, and it's you have that. You feel like you've wasted a season, and I think that's kind of really a fair way to look at it for Detroit. And I put that on the front office more than anybody else. Like we all kind of were like, Kevin Huerter was your answer. Like
Right.
They wanted to see what the playoffs looked like more than anything else. I don't know. Like, I also don't know what move they can really make that's going to get people, that's going to bring in a big piece for them. I know some people have talked about them like OKC going like, okay, now they got the taste of the playoffs, kind of like OKC did that one year and then traded Josh Giddey. I don't know if they have a Josh Giddey on their roster that somebody's going to want to go running for and make a trade or give up a big asset for. Like,
No.
And I know I'm speaking as if they're dead, but like they kind of are. Down 3-1, and Orlando has looked like the 1 seed more than the 8 seed this series.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a Josh Giddey on the roster, and I don't know if there's a Hartenstein out there that also takes them to another level, even for, beyond what Caruso also did for them. The Herder thing, we talked about it at the deadline, how they went after a shooter who isn't really a shooter because he hasn't shot well for like a couple seasons now. I think what they really should have done is go after a creator, because we've seen that Jenkins just doesn't have the same juice that he did in the regular season. He had one driving layup early in this game, but other than that, I think he's 1 for 6 from the field for the game. Yeah, 1 for 6 from the field, over 3 from 3. He had a few assists, but he's played 13 minutes in this game, and I think he played like 7 minutes in the previous game, 11 minutes in the game before that. Like, he's just not been a factor at all. He's shooting 26% from the field, 17% from 3 in the playoffs so far.
It's really kind of like, it's funny because we watch this and it's like, cool, you guys were aware Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White were both available, right? You traded with the Bulls. You traded with the Bulls, but didn't get either one of Ayo or White is kind of like, yeah, you might have misread the situation a little bit. Like, in all honesty, with that.
To be fair, we did say like shooting is a huge weakness for them. We knew that during the regular season, but the problem is they went after a shooter that doesn't shoot anymore.
Yeah, no, what we've been saying the whole time was like, who's your secondary creator? Like, who can you put the ball in their hands? And I get it too. Like, the hope was Jaden Ivey would have become that when they drafted him. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's gone sideways. He's gone to Chicago, and probably not going to be in the league next year. I think you have a lot of sort of, it was pretty obvious what the problems were, and I just don't feel like they felt really prepared to fix them. And I think now it's coming back to bite them in the ass, and it's going to feel like, hey, they shouldn't have been the 1 seed. They were unbelievable this season, but the season's going to feel like a failure.
Yeah, pretty much.
And talk about this, a big win for Adam Silver and the play-in tournament again. Right? A team that absolutely was sputtering all season. A team that, like, I don't know how many times I fired as coach, but more than the number of fingers I have. And I think you're kind of looking at it going like, man, this team's going to go into the second round. And I'm going to be honest, man, they can give Toronto or Cleveland a game.
Let me ask you this. If Orlando wins that first play-in game and winds up the 7 seed instead of the 8 seed, we're probably not here, right? Like, they're probably just getting their ass kicked by Boston.
Boston would have tortured them. Although Boston still would have had at least one game where they were going to fart it away. And I think also Detroit would have really given it to Charlotte. As good as Charlotte was, if assuming Charlotte won, or Philly. Like, I think they would have given it to them physically in the way that they play, especially if it was Philly and Embiid was out a few games. Like, I think they would have found their way to have the upper hand in the series. I think but that's the luck of the draw. But again, big win for the play-in. At the end of the day, this is a big win for the play-in tournament, and more the reason why of like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yep, I'm with you.
All right, let's go to. I have a curveball for you at the end, by the way, not pertaining to this. The Oklahoma City Thunder have put the Phoenix Suns out of their misery. Fascinating stat: the Thunder have swept their first-round opponent the last 3 seasons, so they're 12-0 in the first round over 3 years. Not bad, pretty impressive.
Not bad.
Taking care of business quite early. We'll do the Suns like goodbye moment here and give them the send off, but are like, what's your viewpoint with OKC right now? Like, Jalen Williams has the hamstring. It's week to week, it seems. We don't know what the story is. Obviously, did not need him for Phoenix. You know, most likely going to play the Lakers in the next round. You know, sounds like the Lakers are going to have Reeves back. I don't think they're going to have Luka back. I don't think that's going to be too difficult for OKC. Like, are they just going to coast to the conference finals?
I kind of think so. Like, I don't know if they need J-Dub back for a Lakers series, especially if Luka's not going to play. If he is going to play, then it gets a little bit more interesting if you don't have J-Dub for the entire series, just because how are you matching up with all 3 guys defensively? But I think they would still win that series. And I don't know that my thought about OKC is any different than it's been all year. Like, I think that's the best team. I think they're going to win the finals. And I haven't seen anything throughout the season that has moved me off of that.
Yep. I had, at the start of the season, I had Denver going to the finals, but,
right.
That didn't quite pan out the way I thought it would. I think San Antonio will give them.
You never know.
No, I feel pretty good after watching how they've looked when they've played actual, a team at full. If Minnesota was full strength, Denver would be out by now. They had no answer for these guys. I think the Spurs will give them a problem if they get to the conference finals. I just don't have notes. They just know what they're doing. I'm still not a big fan of their offense and how they set up and get into things, but like, when you're as good as they are, you can get away with that. So I'll just shut up about it. In that sense, and I think their defense is just so amazing.
Man, and they have multiple creators even without J-Dub. Like AJ Mitchell is a creator off the dribble now too.
Yeah, like there's just a bunch of like skilled across the board, and then they got one of the best clutch players in the game right now in Shea. Where if his game's close and he needs to go to work, he'll go to work. And by the way, he was talking mad shit.
Did you see his Instagram?
I did. And a friend of mine.
Unbelievable.
It was pretty. It was something.
For people that don't know, he put up an Instagram post with Dylan Brooks' jersey from the back. Dylan Brooks wears the number 3, and he changed the
The name.
the name
Brooks'
plate
name.
to Cancun on. So it says Cancun on 3 instead of Brooks number 3.
Yeah. That was pretty impressive. That's pretty clever for them stuff. But he had a lot. I mean, granted, Brooks probably brings it out of everybody.
Right. Especially they're Team Canada teammates. Like they know each other really well.
There was a lot more chirpiness than I was like, oh, than I expect from Shea. A little bit surprised. All right, let's do the Phoenix Bon Voyage. Again, another team overachieved. I don't think any of us had them in the play-in tournament. They win the play-in tournament. They win the second game after losing to Portland. Impressive in the sense of didn't have Jalen Green most of the season. Didn't have a lot of front court size. Maybe. Didn't have a ton of front court size, like beyond Mark Williams. Malowatch is still a project. I think they're still trying to figure out, where they're at. Like Gillespie was a nice, development story. Jordan has proven like, I'm a damn good coach. I got these guys playing their asses off. Where do you stand with Phoenix?
The biggest thing is that Jordan Ott is a really good coach, like you said. Like they nailed that hire. Beyond that, though, I'm not sure what the path is for them to get better from here. They don't control their draft picks for like the entire foreseeable future of controllable draft picks. They've given away all of the picks and all of the swaps. So, and it's not like they have a bunch of young prospects that are going to be able to take a significant step forward. Like it's Malowatch and that's it. Like he's got to develop into a really good starting center. Otherwise, like where are they taking a significant leap from? I'm not a Jalen Green guy. I feel like that might be a piece where if people think he played well enough after coming back this season that you can get a trade for him to use that as a stepping stone, I feel like that is probably the best move, but I'm not sure you'll be able to do that. So I'm just not sure like how they break out of where they are, which is like a middling Western Conference play-in team.
Sorry, I just got caught with the gone fishing photos there on the inside the NBA. Kind of caught my eye there a little bit.
I don't have it on because it creates a glare on my framed Magic jersey behind me.
They're in the same boat as Portland in the sense of like I don't know how you go to the next level.
Right.
Like I don't know who's going to drop off in the West. We will have teams that drop off every year, but I don't know who will, and I don't know how they kind of jump into it. There was a run for a moment where it looked like they might be able to sneak into the 6th seed, and I don't know if you can get that same magic, and they got to find more front court depth. Mark Williams is a restricted free agent. Got to get Malowatch ready to go. Like, he's got to provide – he's got to be a player for next season. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, this is a guy, he can't be a 2 years away from 2 years being 2 years away type guy. He's got to be ready next season, I think, for them to kind of start to have that chance with that stuff. And I'll be interested to see what the Jalen Green market is because I'm not convinced it's going to be that high.
No, I don't think, like, I was surprised, I guess there really wasn't a market for him last offseason. It was just he was the salary ballast in the KD trade,
Yes. Yeah, and that was the thing, right? Like, he was the guy that just made the numbers work. It wasn't like they were so excited to get him. They'll be interesting to see how they kind of handle. You're also not going to catch people off guard next year. Like, They'll know what you're about when you come in, and let's see how it works out. And I'll be curious to see what Devin Booker does. Like, are we just going to waste away? Like, I know he always wants to stay in Phoenix, but are we just going to waste away, like, in Phoenix, and that's the end of it?
I think we need a better Devin Booker, too. Like, he can't shoot, what was he, 32% from 3 this year or something along those lines?
Yeah, he wasn't very good this year. Like, I don't think there's a way to kind of look at it. It wasn't a great Booker season, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back, because this is kind of like the second year in a row where it's not really, the numbers aren't really looking good. Last year we gave him a pass because of like, the vibes were awful on this team. This year's team was playing their asses off. They were into it. I don't feel like it was a bad vibes team. They need to figure.
Well, and Nate Duncan pointed it out throughout the year. Every time they played a really good defense, he was not good.
Yeah, and maybe he's not that good. Like, that might be the problem, right? Your superstar player not playing at a superstar level against top teams is what can set you back as an organization. I want to change course here before we go, because I want to throw my curveball at you.
Let's hear it.
And I almost completely forgot about it. It seems like we have a new front-running idea here for anti-tanking.
Oh, God.
From Adam Silver. Oh, gosh, I already know how you're at. For those that don't know, what seems to be the latest run right now is a 16-team lottery, meaning the play-in teams are in it. A relegation, if you're the first, second, or third worst teams in the NBA, you're going to have less odds than teams 4 through 10. Teams 11 through 16 have, the same odds, if I remember it correctly. Or like the play-in odds are tiered as well. Teams cannot win top 5 pick in 3 straight years. So like the situation with the Spurs. Teams can no longer protect picks 12 to 15, which bothers me. Either get rid of pick protections or don't. But don't do this half-measured.
Protecting 12 to 15 is not something that's been an issue.
Yeah, that's not really the thing there. That I don't fully get where that fixes anything, but okay. Jared, to be honest, and I'm going to be fair here, I kind of don't mind the relegation thing. The 1, 2, 3 worst teams not getting the best odds. I know there's consequences behind that, but I don't mind that. But what's your view of everything I just told you?
It's too complicated.
Yeah.
If you can't explain it in a sentence, I feel like it's too complicated. And then the big thing is, it's not an anti-tanking proposal. It's just lottery reform. Like, you're not incentivizing winning. Like, none of this makes winning more important. Like, you still get pretty good lottery odds if you're one of the 3 worst teams. You don't get the best lottery odds. Also, if you've traded, someone pointed this out on Twitter, if you've traded away a top 3 protected pick, you're actually incentivized to lose even more, because you have worse odds at the bottom 3 than you would from 4 to 10.
I mean, I don't really.
Someone else pointed this out. Instituting these changes for next year, when there are so many draft picks that have been traded under the current rules, I think is crazy.
Okay, I agree with, I understand that, but that's all these other teams' fault. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of this tanking shit. I'm tired of it. I don't give a shit.
So am I, but this is not an anti-tanking proposal.
No, this one isn't. This one isn't. I'm not disagreeing with you on this, right? Like, we're not necessarily prioritizing wins. I didn't think about if you have the top 3 pick protected, that part's kind of funny to me. And the fun unintended consequences of all of those things, which would still be hilarious, by the way. But miss me with, we can't implement these changes for next year because teams traded picks or whatnot. You have to make the change at some point. And we have picks that are out as far as 2032 in, Denver's pick to Brooklyn, and I'm sure there's others that I'm not remembering. Like, we can't do that. We can't sit here and be like, well, we got to institute these changes, but we got to wait till, no, that's not how that works. We're going to whatever change they make is going to be helpful to some teams and going to fuck over some other teams based on trades that happened in the past. Tough shit. Because we had 10 teams deciding to tank right after the trade deadline. And
Yeah,
it's, you know what?
it feels like it's a, okay, look, we did something kind of solution after a year where we had a perfect storm of tanking with teams that were normally not going to be in a position to tank, but were because of various injuries and whatnot, and also a historically good draft class, and teams that had protected picks to where they needed to be at the bottom of the standings. Like, all of those things came together at once to make this a tanking season unlike any other. And now they're just like, okay, we have to do something. So they did something, and it's going to look like it worked next year, but the unintended consequences are going to be bad.
Yeah, and honestly, I think whatever they do, there's going to be unintended consequences that are going to be bad. Just what happens when you make these types of decisions and you're trying to fix these things, right? You're going to fix something, and there's going to be a leak coming elsewhere. Like, I think they're kind of in this position. The one thing I'll say is, like, all right, this is complicated. Like, there's no question about it. So was the All-Star game. That worked. Like, at a certain point, I'm just like, I don't mind. Let's get crazy and do something stupid. If this is awful, we can change this in 3 years. Like, whatever. Like, I don't mind them trying. And I get it where everybody's saying this is changing for just the sake of it or whatnot. I've seen people say, like, hey, they had it perfect before with, flatten the odds teams 1 through 10 and, 11 to 16. Or I think that proposal had the 11 to 18 or something like that. And they have different, like, I get all that. There's always going to be an incentive to do this or an incentive to do that for a team being a negative actor, a bad faith actor in these things. I just think, like, they got to do something and they got to try it. This shit's crazy. I also thought the play-in was going to be a crazy ass idea, and I thought it was going to suck. But I'm in. Like, sign me up. Like, yeah, I will defend it. In that way and things like that. Like, I'm interested to see how it plays out. And if 3 or 4 years from now we're like, man, that wasn't it, then we go back to the drawing board. But, like, I don't mind that they're willing to try something. Because we just can't have what we had last year. And I know it was a perfect storm. But you know what, man? Like, some of these teams have been tanking for way too long. For a long-ass time. Like, Utah's been doing this for 3 years.
Like, Utah's tanking. Washington's bad.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Washington and Sacramento, who are literally regular fixtures and have statues already at the lottery drawing room. But, like, I think I
guess Washington was also definitely tanking this year because of the top 8 protected pick.
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody was. Indiana was. All these teams were tanking. Like, the only ones that really kind of weren't was New Orleans, because it didn't matter to them. I think
Sacramento, because they're just really bad.
No, Sacramento's just incompetent. Even their own organization said their coach is incompetent, and they brought him back, by the way. So that's, like, really, really smart. I just feel like there has to be some sort of change to this stuff, and it's like, it's a crazy idea. It's complicated. We might hate it. I might sit back and dive deep into it and be like, wow, this is really dumb. But sometimes you just got to be stupid and try something and see what it works and see how it plays out. And, like, I'm willing to give them that shot, that opportunity, and just see what it is.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I will say that continually floating all of these ideas during the middle of the playoffs and keeping the tanking storyline alive is really dumb.
Yeah, but when are they supposed to do it, though, Jared? Like, they're having all their meetings and their discussions now. Like, this is...
Do it over the summer.
And then everybody's going to say, oh, no, you waited way too long, and free agency, we would have changed our free agency and whatnot. Like, I don't think it... I'll tell you why...
So do it during the moratorium.
Do
it during Summer League.
We know all the tampering. We know all that stuff goes on.
Distract from Summer League, where the basketball is, like, even worse than the tanking basketball.
But I'll say this: I don't know how much of a distraction this is from basketball. We haven't had. Listen, the past 2 days.
It pulled a lot of focus today.
Yeah, because we didn't have great games yesterday. Do I have to read you the numbers of Orlando Detroit again? Do you want to talk about that?
No.
Don't make me pull out that stat sheet, Jared. So, like, yeah, let's talk about tanking because nobody wants to talk about that game. All right, I think we're rambling, and it's late where you are, and you gotta go to bed, and I gotta pack because I'm going to New York to be, in the evening hours like you, late in the weeds, and complain about time zones. Any last thoughts?
I hope we get some good game sixes over the next couple of days.
I think we will. I think Orlando Detroit tomorrow will be good. Toronto Cleveland's gonna be fascinating.
Oh yeah, we still got a couple of game fives to play.
Yeah. Yep. My light just went out. So we'll have to figure that out. Not my light, but like we got some good games coming. I think we're gonna have some stuff. Goodbye Portland. Goodbye Phoenix. It was nice having you. Enjoy your vacation. I can't believe Boston just didn't close this one out. All right. Thank you so much, folks, for listening to the Double Dribble podcast.
See y'all.